Okay, so yesterday I was learning how to do AI agents for literally the first time, and 1 hour and a half into the practice, into the content, I've developed my very first ever AI agents. So I thought, well, I always been used to learn stuff very quickly. I mean, every concept that I pick up, I can just learn it so fast. I mean, I learned basic French in less than 2 weeks, studying 30 minutes every day. Mon français c'est pas très bien, mais je parle un peu. I learned I learned basic Japanese studying for like 2 months. Not even study, just by talking to my Japanese friends. 僕の日本人の友達は素晴らしいよ。俺はありがたい。So as you can see, I can learn stuff quick. This is something that I can say. I can learn stuff lightning fast. And I thought, well, what if I try to break down the process that I use to learn everything, literally everything, in a way that people can just maybe follow my brain framework, my mind framework that I use, and they can also learn fast. So I can just provide value and everybody can be a fast learner. So that's the idea. I was just thinking about it. How do I actually structure information in my head for learning it? So this is what I'm going to show you right here in this board. I'm going to draw so it makes sense. Yo! Lua from the future here. I forgot to mention some stuff that I think it's very important when you're learning. I mean, just optimization so you can learn stuff like very quick. It's just a framework that I forgot to put here in the video that I was thinking about later. So I'm gonna add that as a bonus at the end of the video. So yeah, I got some extra tip for you. Well, LOL. Okay, first you gotta understand what I picture when I try to learn a new information. I understand that everything in the world is some sort of system. All the knowledge is a system that stems from a root. It's just like a tree, you know? We have what I call like the primordial knowledge. I don't know, because every knowledge stems from the same root. Because we're all humans, and we develop science based on things that already existed, and then we develop science over the science that we already developed. If that makes any sense at all. This is how I picture learning stuff. I noticed that a big portion of people, when they want to learn something, they go from 1 to 2 and to 3, and this is how they condense the information. The information is just spread. It's like just floating around the brain, just floating somewhere in the brain. Like it could be here, or maybe it's here. I don't really know. It's just a bunch of information around. But I don't really like just picking up an information and just going over 1, 2, and 3. One thing that you gotta understand, for you to really learn something, you have to make a link like this. You have the information that you want to learn, that you are actually watching or reading about, and you have the information that you already know. These are the packs of information that are already in your brain that you already understand. And what you gotta do to really learn something is create a way to link the new information with the information that you already have. Because this is going to make sense to your brain. So your brain is just going to pick, oh, this thing and this thing, they're related, right? So I'm just going to pack them together here, and now you know it. Now you learned it. Now you understand the concept. Now you can retrieve it from your brain because it stems from a primal concept. Okay, now that we went all over this, I want to explain how I understand new knowledge. Every piece of knowledge that you're going to acquire is some sort of system in a way. For example, I wanted to learn how to do AI agents because I want to make a system for transcribing everything, for indexing, basically that. And I thought I could use AI to do all the indexation. I don't know how to do indexing. I don't know how to build AI agents. But what I know is, it is a system where we start in a place and we end in the other place, which is the conclusion. So, because it is a system, if I just follow a path, I'm going to end up there. If I just do this, and then I do this, and do this, I achieve the result that I want. It is about this specific thing. Doing this, this, and this is going to get me to the achievement, to the thing that I want to achieve, to my goal. Understanding that every piece of new knowledge is a system that you just have to follow steps in order to achieve, what I do is I structure my knowledge acquiring system in a way that is go from the top to the bottom, from a big overview to a very small details. I'll try to illustrate how it works. I picture it as a web. Let's say that right here in the background, let's make it blue. We have the concept that we want to understand that we don't actually understand. And as I said, this is a system. It has a lot of moving parts, small parts that we don't understand yet and we don't know about them. And this is what it is about. When I start, I have a very broad overview. It's just like a spider web where I make the outer layer first. I think this is what spider webs look like. I'm not trying to know how to do the thing. I'm trying to identify all the pieces that are, all the big pieces that are part of the system. For example, in this system over here, let's say that is for the thing that I mentioned, there are tools that are going to be involved in the process. So this is basically about learning what are the tools. I need tools to do this job. So what tools do I need to actually do the job? And this is the idea of casting the web. It is going to understand this tool, this tool, this tool, and this tool, and this tool, and this tool. So I know all the parts that are making the overall system in a very, very broad view. I don't know how they work. I don't know how to use them, but I know they exist. This is how I start learning stuff. Now we go into the inner layers. The first inner layer would be right here. And I start casting this part of the web, where now I want to understand what is the relation. You know, what is the relation of every tool? What is the relation of one tool to the other one? What are the connections? What do they do to each other? How do they communicate? How do they communicate to each other? And this is the main purpose of the first layer, the first inner layer of the web. When I understand why the information goes from one to the other and why it does this and this and this, I start understanding what are the moving parts in this system. What are the moving parts in the knowledge? Now, understanding the moving parts, you're going to understand that tool 1 sends information to tool 2. But how is that information transferred? What are the moving parts? You get it? For the AI agents, I know that I have to input text. I need something to input the text, and this text has to go into the AI agent, and from the AI agent, it gives me the reply, which is what I want. I want it to reply me. But I don't know how to build it, you know? Again, recapitulating, the first outer layer of the web would be understanding these parts over here, that they exist. The second layer would be understand this relation, how they connect to each other, why understand that this goes from here to here and this from here. Now, the new layer is about understanding how the information goes there. So, how does it work? How does the information actually goes in? This is when you understand that you need a text block that you can actually input information. And this is when you understand that AI agents, they need memory. You need like a buffer memory, and you need to define a model for do the embedding. And you need to do the database. You need to connect the database on them. You see, we are going into more. These are the moving parts that I was talking about. This is the things that we had no idea about, but now we know because we understand the big picture. This is the time that we go into the very specific details of the knowledge web. This is when I started learning how the AI agent relates to the databases and the memory, and also the AI models that are going to operate it. What I've done is I researched what are databases, what are vector databases, what is the RAG system for the AI agent. And I'm really getting into detail because I understand the big picture. I understand that I have to learn this, and not only that, but I have to understand how to make the AI output the information. And for outputting the information, you need just to convert this into actual human text instead of numbers and display it to the person who is using the program. After we do the research and learn the tools that we need for building the buffer memory, building the database, this is when we get into the inner layer of the web. That is when everything in this web, they connect to each other and we achieve the actual knowledge right here in the center. So you see how it is a kind of a simple framework. You just have to go big and you go smaller, 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 smaller until you get to the very minimal detail. So this is how I approach everything that I'm going to learn. This is how I approach learning languages. This is how I approach learning automation. As you know, just here, I learn approaching AI stuff, business, whatever. This is how I approach everything that I'm going to learn. And then this knowledge that I acquired is sent to my tree of knowledge, to my, just goes right into my tree, and I have access to the knowledge at any moment that I want, and I can learn to build AI agents in 1 hour and 30 minutes. So, I think this was a very crazy explanation. I never saw anybody explaining a brain framework of how to store information, but I know that lots of people, they think in different ways. They have lots of difficulty learning because they just don't know how to store the information. They don't know how to approach the overall concept to just put in their brains. So I thought, well, I know how to do this. I have 19 years of practice doing this. Alright, so this is the bonus part that I mentioned in the video. So you have to use your imagination. I'm going to use my mouse so you can help you, like, using your imagination. Anyhow, so when you are picturing the information, try to do, for example, when I think of equity, I literally picture like a square. Oh, shoot. Whatever. I picture like a square. Imagine like a rectangle like this, and then you literally chop it like 1, 2, chop, chop, chop. And the bottom part of my metaphor for equity is like everything that is underneath the top chop, you literally forget about it. Like that thing doesn't really matter. The only thing that is the equity itself is like the top layer that got chopped, so the one remaining at the top over here. There's also something else. Let me try to remember. Oh yeah. Second thing. I don't learn stuff if I don't need to learn. Do not try learning stuff if you don't actively need to learn the thing. What I mean by that is, for example, let's say you're watching a course, you want to learn something, and you're watching a course. Most people, they just going to watch one video, then watch another video, just watch the entire course, but that's not effective, because you don't need that information. You only really learn if your brain needs that thing like in the spot, in the moment. You have to learn, because that way the information is going to get intrinsically, like, you're going to be smashed inside your brain. You're never going to forget that stuff, because your brain understands, I need this thing for survival. I don't know, like, I need this, so this is the reason that your brain is going to remember. So only learn stuff when you need. For example, when I'm developing systems, for example, I was working with SQL databases. I never used SQL databases before. That's the reason I never searched how to use SQL databases. But now I'm building a system that I really need to use a SQL database. So what I've done was I went there and I searched for SQL databases, and I started learning and I started implementing, because now I really need to learn SQL databases. So I hope this makes sense. So yeah, you can do it. Bye.
俺の好きなの食べ物は猫の子の肉なんだよ。